Welcome to this episode of Best of America by Horseback right here on RFD TV. I'm Tom Seay, your host. We had the pleasure of traveling from our home in Virginia down to northeast Texas, Bowie County. There's a town there called DeKalb, Texas. During the railroad era, it was a thriving agricultural community, growing tomatoes, but when the trains left, it devastated the community. Now, those same railroad beds have the potential to revitalize the entire area with the Rails to Trails projects. We're going to take you riding on a portion of the Northeast Texas trails, and we're going to visit 3 different towns, how they've come together to make all this possible. DeKalb, Texas has a very special meaning to us. It's the home of Dan Blocker, who you may know as Hoss Cartwright on the TV show Bonanza. I never had the opportunity to meet him, but my wife Patricia worked with Ben Cartwright, who was Lauren Green on the George Washington miniseries. The opening of our show was influenced by the opening of the show Bonanza, and it reflects that, and that is important to us, and here's why. My grandparents could neither speak nor hear, so they had a TV set. They got a great deal on it because it didn't have a speaker in it, and we got to watch 2 TV shows out of Richmond, Virginia. They were fuzzy pictures, and you couldn't hear anything that was going on. I always thought if I had anything to do with television, I'd like the opening of the show to be worth watching, even though you couldn't hear anything. So the opening of our show is sort of a tribute to my grandparents, where there is just beautiful scenery that I'd hoped that they could watch on TV, even though they couldn't hear anything. So that's why there's no talking in the opening of our show. And one other thing about the opening of the show. My father's favorite TV show was Bonanza. And I remember being in Fredericksburg, Virginia with my dad and my mother looking through the window of the Sears Roebuck store and seeing my first color TV some 50 years ago. And it was Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color and Bonanza. My dad saved and he bought a color TV, and Bonanza was his favorite TV show. So when you watch the opening of our show, you'll see that Bonanza type of map. So the no talking part is for my grandparents. The map is kind of for my dad. And the music is the kind of music I think you and I both like. Now I want you to sit back and relax. Watch another episode of Best of America by Horseback from DeKalb, Texas, as we ride the Northeast Texas Trail Project.
This week on Best of America by Horseback, Tom is riding on a portion of the Northeast Texas Trail on the first annual Smith Pines Memorial Trail Ride. The Northeast Texas Trail is a relatively new rails to trail system that spans from New Boston, Texas, all the way to Farmersville, Texas, a 132-mile stretch along former rail lines through beautiful Texas backwoods and unspoiled prairie. Traveling through 7 counties and 19 towns, the trail offers a way to explore the past and enjoy the relaxed pace of country life through small Texas towns. DeKalb, Texas was the host of this year's ride to Avery and New Boston. One of the earliest settlements in the county, and according to some county histories, a community took shape here in the winter of 1835 when Davy Crockett visited the site on his way to the Alamo. These sources claim that when Crockett inquired about the name of the town, residents told him it had none, and then asked him to name it. He suggested they name the town DeKalb, after the Prussian Baron DeKalb, a general in the American Revolutionary Army. When the Texas and Pacific Railway was built through the county in 1876, DeKalb became a station on the rail line and the town's population increased. Agriculture remained of vital importance to the local economy. Where cotton had been the dominant area crop during the 19th and early 20th centuries, it was slowly replaced by vegetables, fruit, livestock, and hay. The town's businesses reflected that change. By the 1970s, DeKalb was known for its cannery and large shipments of tomatoes. With the railroad no more, it opened an opportunity for the Northeast Texas Trail Coalition to step in. The Northeast Texas Trail Coalition's plan is for a continuous 132-mile-long recreational trail converted from the unused railway corridors to enhance economic development in Northeast Texas. Land for constructing the trail through Northeast Texas is provided at no cost through a federal law passed in 1983 called the National Trail System Act. Through the act, railroad right-of-ways are preserved for future reactivation of rail service and are able to be donated or sold to public and private rail bank entities.
There is a trail that used to be a railroad that is now open for people to use. What's the future vision pertaining to the horses? What's going to be built here? What can people look at to come to in the future?
Well, in our area, which our area basically consists of the west end of Bowie County, Texas, and the east end of Red River County, Texas, and from New Boston, DeKalb, which is where we're located now, and Avery, Texas, there's a 22-mile stretch of the Northeast Texas Trail that is 100% open, 100% ready to use for horseback.
The Northeast Texas Trail, once completed, will travel through 19 rural communities, linking residents and visitors to retail shops, campsites, restaurants, and different local attractions along the trail. Once fully completed, the Northeast Texas Trail will be the 5th longest trail in the nation.
This trail has been here for so long. It was once a railroad, and has been conditioned and used already. And you know, there's not a better way to tie communities together to have activities like this. Starting in New Boston where it begins, and traveling through the other communities along the way, Malta and DeKalb here, and on into Avery, Oak Grove. There's other communities and people that get involved. Once with all of the other little places that you can stop, even for a little break, you know, you can meet all walks of life. And with the proper exposure, you can get people interacting. You can get communities, bring them together. So, you know, there's the benefits are boundless. I mean, you can't look at it in a negative light.
Actually, in the city of New Boston, we've built a large pavilion. And we kind of based it off of what the old railhead used to look like there. We have annual events there. We have our annual 4th of July big celebration. We also have an annual festival there. And so it does bring a lot of economical in.
Stay tuned for more of Best of America by Horseback's visit to DeKalb, Texas, and the ride on the Northeast Texas Trail when we come back. Welcome back to Best of America by Horseback's visit to DeKalb, Texas, where Tom and friends have been riding along the Northeast Texas Trail.
We were at a place yesterday called Avery.
Avery, Texas, yes.
Beautiful lake, beautiful pavilion, and I'm really got to tell you, some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life.
Right.
Feel like you come home from a family reunion or something. Tell me about Avery and their part of the trail.
Avery is at the west end of the 22-mile segment. Avery used to be very prominent in the truck vegetable industry. And we know that railroad is for all practical purposes, never coming back. What we're trying to do is take what's there, which is the old right-of-way, already there, ready to use. We've cleaned it up, we've straightened it up, we've fixed up the bad spots, it's ready to use. And Avery is a critical part of that because they are the western end of that 22-mile section that is already ready. It's the longest section in the Northeast Texas Trail that's ready for horse use.
While we were in DeKalb, we stopped at the museum at the Williams House. As you step on the lawn, you step back into the past of DeKalb, Texas. DeKalb was the birthplace of Dan Blocker, who played Hoss Cartwright on the popular television series Bonanza, one of Tom's favorite shows. There were many family photos and items in the museums belonging to Dan Blocker from a child up to his death at the early age of 43. The museum also had many accounts of the tragic death of television star and singer Ricky Nelson and his band, whose plane crashed in DeKalb on December 31, 1985. The rooms of the Williams House Museum are filled with items from everyday life at DeKalb, Texas, from its founding to today. The museum is lovingly maintained by a volunteer group called Friends of the Williams House. Tom spoke with Joni Haldeman, who volunteers at the museum and also sits as the city judge.
We're in a community that is real proud of their history. And I want you to tell me about this museum. It's different than the Smithsonian. This is sort of a living.
It's a living, breathing, and it's the way we look at it, it's telling the story of our people.
There's so many things here in this museum that are valuable. But I don't think you had a budget for a glass case. It's out where you can touch those albums or that film reel or this. You can be part of this museum.
We're a touch museum. That's the one thing we encourage people to. If you pick it up, you claim it. And if you claim it, you hold it in your heart. You'll remember it. And just a typewriter. Can you imagine if you're 10 years old today? Do you know what a typewriter is? It's fantastically funny to watch these kids. Or a rotary dial telephone.
This community is known for, locally they say Hoss Cartwright, but it was Dan Blocker. I don't know if we have enough tape and time to talk about everything you might know about Dan Blocker, but give us a few highlights.
He was the largest baby recorded to have been born in Bowie County. And I think it was something like 14 pounds, some odd ounces.
When he was here or came back here, he was just at home?
Very private person, very private. And the people here in DeKalb respected that. And his children would come and visit their grandmother in the summer and stay, a couple of weeks. And it was just like any other family coming home to see grandmother.
Dan Blocker is one of the true television immortals, having played Hoss Cartwright, the heart and soul of Bonanza, for 13 seasons before his untimely death in 1972 at the early age of 43. The character of Hoss was conceived as a stereotype gentle giant. At 6 foot 4 inches tall and 300 pounds, Dan Blocker filled Hoss Cartwright's cowboy boots and 10-gallon hat admirably, but he also brought something extra to the role, a warmth and empathy that helped ground the show. Personal accounts of Blocker testify to the fact that the man was gregarious and friendly to everyone. He brought that upbeat personality to the character of Hoss. Blocker's role as the gentle giant Hoss Cartwright endured him to thousands of fans. He was always portrayed as more bumbling than the other Bonanza co-stars, but it seemed this lovable image made him even more popular. The show continued its population until 1972, when tragedy struck. After routine gallbladder surgery, Dan Blocker died when a blood clot developed in his lung. His death at age 43 on May 13, 1972, began the demise of Bonanza, which lasted only one more year before it was canceled. Dan Blocker, the beloved Hoss Cartwright, was buried in Woodman Cemetery in his hometown of DeKalb, Texas.
I was asked today by one of the commissioners, how is it y'all came here? This area is, and we're fortunate every now and then to visit areas where the people are, it's a kind of community you'd like to raise your kids. And I think that's the way this community is. Every community has problems, and every community has its share of crime and so forth. But this looks like the kind of place you just want to raise kids. Is that about right?
Absolutely.
Bowie County is a wonderful place to raise your children. I grew up actually 6 miles from where we sit right now. I like the country way of life. People know each other, they help each other. To me, it's just a wonderful way to live.
Welcome back to Best of America by Horseback's visit to DeKalb, Texas, where Tom and friends have been riding along the Northeast Texas Trail.
Behind the ball field, they're going to put in a horse facility, drive-through, hookups. Tell me about that.
Well, DeKalb, here in DeKalb, we are at the intersection of two major U.S. highways, Highway 82 and Highway 259. We are within 10 minutes of the interstate in one direction. We're within 13 minutes of the interstate in another direction. So we're building that RV park for RVers and most importantly, horse people. Half the sites are going to be dedicated for the rigs like you see here, people who are traveling with their horses to come and stay, enjoy our town, enjoy our trail, and right now, that's going to be the first phase of it, is to take the area we have in our park and turn it into an RV park. Half the sites will be dedicated for horse people.
Part of the trail has been finished. It is expanding. There are more opportunities. Someone watching the show right now, and they want to come down here to Texas, this beautiful country, beautiful people, and ride, park. How do they get in touch with you?
They can call the DeKalb, Texas City Hall. Everybody as a matter of fact, one of our main people in City Hall is a horse person herself. They can call, ask about the opportunities. Until we get that RV campground finished, we are taking part of our industrial park and we're going to have it configured with electrical hookup, water is going to be available, and we're going to have some stalls to hold horses overnight.
So tomorrow morning, someone passing through, they can come to this field. There'll be pens here. There's an opportunity for them to pull in today.
Correct. We will make that available to them today. The cost to rent on the industrial park is going to be $25 a night. That'll include your electricity. That'll include anything you need to get water. And you don't have to unhook. Our pens are going to be situated so that you can pull through, pen off to one side, electrical hook up to the other. And we can take up to 6 rigs at our electrical facility right now.
A new location to travel and visit with. This is a must-see, must-visit place. And they can go by the museum, see Joni, learn about horse cartwright.
For more information about how you can come and ride on the Northeast Texas Trail, you can call DeKalb, Texas City Hall at 903-667-2410 or log on to their website, dekabtexas.org.
I sure hope you enjoyed this episode of Best of America by Horseback here on RFD TV. In these tough economic times, trails are being closed all over America, in parks and different areas. But this Rails to Trails project has a potential of opening up economic growth to communities. There may be one near you. If so, I ask that you explore it, look at the opportunities to create more trails. People will come, they will ride, it'll help your community economically and of course to see the great places in America. I encourage you to visit our website, www.bestofamericabyhorseback.com, to see where we are riding and where you may join us as we see the most beautiful places in America by horseback. I'm Tom Seay. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.